Because if somebody has a right to health care, then somebody else is obligated to provide him with that right to health care, right? I mean, it has to come from somewhere. The health care is a product, a good, a service that somebody is providing. And if you have a right to health care, and I'm a doctor, then what position does that put me as a doctor? Well, I am obliged. The government is going to force me to provide for your health care. But what about my right to decide who I see and who I don't see? How much I charge for my services, how much I don't charge, what kind of procedures I do and what kinds of procedures I don't do. What about my rights to do what I think is good for me? Well, who cares? Well, we do care. And the doctors, they all get together and they say, wait a minute, we've got rights too. And these people come and say, well, but we've got rights, and what do you get? You know, you get a doctor's lobby and a pharmaceutical lobby and an insurance company lobby and a patient's lobby and all kinds of lobbies. Every little group out there comes out and says, we've got rights too. And how do we decide on policy? Well, whoever manages to manipulate the political process best wins out. Deals are cut, people are appeased, and everybody gets a little piece, and politicians then vote on what they think will maximize their ability to get reelected. But rights then turn into this battle between groups that all claim to stand for individual rights. They stand for what America was founded on. The right to health care, the right to be a doctor and do what I think is right to be a doctor, the right of pharmaceuticals to make a profit, but it's all rights. There's no standard. The standard is who has the most. I mean, you would think in a democracy, generally the standard is who has the most votes. But how do you get those votes? Well, you get those votes by who has the most pull, by who manipulates the political process the most. It's a little civil war. Every time you get something like healthcare, what you get is a little civil war going on behind the scenes where people are pushing and pulling in order to get the best outcome for themselves possible. But is there a standard for what a right is? When we talk about the government's role in defending and protecting individual rights, what does that actually mean? And where does that actually come from? If we go back to the founding documents of the United States, in the Declaration of Independence it says we each have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, an inalienable right to those. What does that actually mean? Now these concepts are really important. They shape the way we think about politics. They shape the way we think about the role of government. They shape the way we think about what government should and shouldn't do. So it's really important that we understand what rights are and how they've been perverted and distorted and corrupted and used in a way that the founding fathers of America would find horrific. And we should all find horrific. And we should all have the tools to be able to fight for them. And I think that most commentators out there, both on the left and the right, have gotten this issues of rights wrong because they don't understand what the concept is and where it fundamentally comes from. So what is a right? What do we mean when we talk about individual rights? And here I think Ayn Rand builds on the Enlightenment thinkers of Locke, on the founding fathers, on the tradition of rights, but I think brings their own unique views to this question. For Ayn Rand, rights are manifestation of ethics. They're a manifestation of morality. They're the application of morality to politics. For Ayn Rand, morality is primarily an individual's responsibility. Primarily deals with how individuals should deal with their own life, with themselves, with how they interact, not so much with the world out, other people, but with their world, with themselves, their own moral responsibilities to themselves. But we all live in a society. We all live among other people. Rights are the rules, in a sense. They're the standards by which we interact with other people. They're the application of a specific moral code, a specific moral view to how we interact with other people. And therefore, to understand the corruption of rights, you have to understand different views of ethics. You have to understand the prevalent views of morality out there in the culture. And to understand the proper view of rights, you have to understand a proper moral view. Rights are about the individual. Individual rights are a code that determines the freedoms of an individual, the freedom of action. Rights fundamentally about actions. When you say the right to life, it means that you have a right to pursue those actions necessary to sustain your own life. It means that you have the right to do whatever is necessary to take care of yourself, to be left free, to think and to act in any way that you view as beneficial to your life. That's essentially what rights are. And there is only one right. Fundamentally, that's the right to life, the right to property, the right to free speech, the right to liberty, the right to pursue one's happiness. They're just derivatives of the one idea that we as individuals need to be left free, left alone to pursue our lives. To pursue a life proper to human beings. So rights, people talk about are rights negative or rights positive. There's a whole debate about positive rights and negative rights. In a sense, they're both. Rights are positive in the sense that it says you as an individual, you are free. They're negative in a sense that they tell your neighbors that while each one of them is free to pursue their own life, the negative is they can't violate your rights. So you can pursue your life as long as you're not violating, as long as you're not prohibiting the ability of others to pursue their life.